here we are again with Khalid, who is an MSA director, was an MSA director for 3 years for a Muslim Student Association at a community college. But of course, you have leadership and connections and networks with Muslim student associations across the state of California and across the West. And we couldn't be more thrilled and honored that you are taking the time to speak to a primarily Christian, even evangelical audience about, how do we scale up friendship and dialogue and relationship with Muslims on campus. And so this is the final video in a series. I mean, some may be watching this video first, but this is the final video in our series, basically helping Christian campus groups to sort of demystify the process of getting to know their Muslim neighbors on campus. And it's so much more exciting than it is complicated. And that's why we're doing these videos, because we've done this ourselves. We've gathered together. We've enjoyed pizza and chai together. We know how fun it can be. And so with that being said, really the purpose of this final video is to look at, like, what are MSAs excited about? What is a typical MSA calendar? Like, what kinds of events do MSAs usually like to do? I mean, Christian college students, they do their Bible studies, they do their weekly meetings, they do their mission trips, right? Like, there's these boxes, there's these buckets where Christian college students put their time. But there may be a little bit of mystery of, like, what gets a Muslim student out of bed in the morning? Like, what kinds of events, make them want to show up and engage? And so, first of all, say hello, Khalid.
Hello. What's up, everyone? How's it going? As Kevin said, this is going to be our last video, but we're going to dive into some pretty cool stuff.
Yes. So a little bit of context. Khalid and I met at a Cru winter conference gathering in Southern California. There was very little winter about it.
Yeah.
And immediately we felt a resonance in our friendship that we both really have a passion to see more people do this. I think we were both like really excited about the outcome. We brought up Christian students from the Cru conference to one of the largest, most prominent mosques where Muslims pray in North America, if not the world. And a lot of them for the first time, they're removing their shoes, they're entering the mosque, and with a totally different set of convictions than what is being spoken about, preached, and believed in that space. But that did not curb people from having terrific conversation over a meal. And so let's start with this question. What kind of events, in your experiences working with Muslim student associations, what kind of events would you say MSA students are the most excited about, or they like to participate in?
Well, thinking of that question, it really goes back to what an MSA is. It's first and foremost a religious organization. So most of the events that MSAs will plan for, or most MSA members will attend, will be religious events. And like you alluded to, I mean, Christians will go have their Bible studies and, visit different, missions, or go do missionary work. For us Muslims, we kind of have the same thing. Most of our events will be geared towards religion, but with working with MSAs and people of other faiths, not even people of other faiths, but just maybe just a secular organization that likes to do community service, for example. Like, MSAs will be so down to do things that will benefit people, whether it's volunteering at a food drive on Saturday mornings, or if it's just cleaning up garbage at a beach, or just anything like that, anything community service. Muslims will be 100% down to do with different organizations, especially Christians. Another big thing that I think of would be engaging with people of other faiths, and talking to them about the differences, similarities, and having those deep connections, like Kevin mentioned when he visited the mosque with the Cru folk.
Of course, being on Zoom, naturally I'm muted. And one of the things I've noticed is that Muslim student organizations, correct me if I'm wrong, tend to be more free. They tend to frequent events across faiths, perhaps even more than Christian students are accustomed to doing. I'm going to throw a hypothesis out there, Khalid. You tell me if this is way off, but
Sure.
is it that Muslim students might feel more of a responsibility to get out there, and not just as a minority faith on campus, so there's just less Muslims, so naturally they're going to encounter diversity perhaps more often, but do Muslim students feel any pressure to like get out there and like correct misconceptions about the faith, and they feel almost like this small band of ambassadors for the Muslim faith, or is that not really part of the motivation and wanting to be so present across different, in friendship across different faith groups?
Well, I mean, just starting an MSA at a college campus, and not really knowing what to do, where to start, or we're very blessed at Orange Coast College in Costa Mesa in California to have a great community that really helped us, start an MSA. But that being said, when we were trying to form our board and see, which people would, be best for certain positions on board and stuff, if, one of the biggest things we talked about was that we're representing Islam on campus. Like we like to say that the best form of quote unquote missionary work, which we call dawah in Arabic or in Islamic terms, is really just having good character and showing real Muslim character. It's actually a saying of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So when we start an organization like an MSA, 100% we put that responsibility on our shoulders and say, yeah, we're Muslim. We're starting this MSA. We're the ambassadors of our faith and of our worldwide community on campus. And I guess you could say there will be some pressure. It'll mostly be like personal pressure that board members or members will put on themselves. But yeah, for us, it's a really big deal.
How well funded or resourced is the typical MSA? Is it fair to ask an MSA to pitch in to an event, to like a Christian Muslim event? Typically Christian groups are, I can't say for absolute certain, but they tend to be more well-resourced. They tend to have more dollars, more,
Sure.
Maybe they have a church that's backing them. I don't know if that's always true of MSAs, whether they have a mosque that's like, helping to pay for the budget a little bit. But yeah, is it fair to ask an MSA to pitch in? Should Christian groups, always try to pay the tab? And like, be honest, what's your thought on all of that?
Well, honestly, it depends. And it depends on the situation of the MSA, how big the MSA is, when the MSA started. Like, for example, the OCC MSA, we're fairly new. We don't have, that much money. Sometimes the mosque that we visited, sometimes they will help us out and they'll give us some stuff for free, or, if we need, anything, they'll help us out. But you really have to look at the situation of the MSA, also how big the Muslim community is in the surrounding area of the college campus. Maybe if it's, if there are not many Muslims in the area, not many mosques, not many strong mosques, you won't find lots of dough, you could say, with the MSA. So I don't have a definite answer for you because it all depends. It all depends, and there's a big fluctuation with
Sure. That. But I will say, I mean, given my role with Neighborly Faith, that as far as it is possible, a Christian group, my feeling, should offer to cover as many of the expenses as possible. I think that should be the gold standard. Because I mean, I don't think Christians consider enough that, we are just more normative in our faith expression, the college calendar, all the way through curriculum, all the way through, what people are allowed to use to market their events. All of that is very Christian preferential. And I think it is incumbent upon us to use some of that preferential treatment we get a lot on campus to the benefit of building relationships with those who maybe don't experience that same level of treatment. And so that's just my own soapbox, though.
But I'll be the first one to say, after the event at the mosque, you guys were so generous. so generous. And then I went to the to the crew conference, and you wouldn't let me leave. You know, if I paid for my own, parking ticket, you insist. I remember you got out of the car. You're like, no, here
Yeah.
you go. I'm gonna
Yeah,
pay for for your parking
yeah.
spot.
What else do you want to tell listeners who are like, what do we do? What do we do with an MSA? Like, what do we plan? Um, do you have any practical kind of ideas? Or maybe you would say, like, this is a really good place to start. Like, if you have no idea, like, start here, maybe something like that.
Well, the best thing and the easiest thing and the most successful thing to plan with an MSA would definitely be community service.
Hmm.
Before you engage in theological differences with any MSA or any Muslim organization or group, even a mosque, the best and easiest thing to do will be community service.
Yeah.
Because the Muslim organization, whatever it may be, 99.9% sure they will always say yes to something like that. But if it's talking about theology or anything more complicated or complex that needs more planning, obviously you'll have to message the MSA or organization a lot earlier. But the easiest thing to plan for, to just as a start and to really start to have a connection, is to do community service. And that could, like I alluded, that could be food drives. It could be cleaning up different like public areas like beaches, parks, anything. Make little little like bags of food or whatever and distribute it to the homeless or poor areas in the area. There's lots of different things you could do for community service.
Yeah.
But
I was going to say too, there's a couple of topics that I think could actually be ripe for this kind of like shared service. One of them I think is like, how can Christian and Muslim groups provide or promote mental health services on campus? I think that could be a fantastic area of collaboration. That to me pops up immediately, given the landscape, given the amount of loneliness and isolation that students feel nowadays.
Definitely, and I mean that could arguably be because of just increased, secularization. Lots of people now, they just don't have meaning in their lives, and religion. Oh my God, religion is like the beacon of meaning.
Yes.
You have strong faith in whatever faith you choose. You
Yeah.
have strong faith. You know where you're going in life, and you're gonna do something big, in your life. So 100%. I never thought of that. Collaborating with another faith group for mental health. That would be beautiful. That'd be
Yeah.
beautiful.
I mean, the Surgeon General calls it an epidemic. I mean, it's a national emergency. I just wonder, what that could look like. And I'll say this too. I'm sure you'd agree. Serving and dialogue can actually go together, even at times. Like,
Sure.
if there's a sense in which the dialogue would serve the community, right? For like a Christian or a Muslim speaker to get together and talk about the ways that faith groups could serve together, that could be a dialogue and a service opportunity kind of put together. Like, you get your imam, we get our local popular pastor, and you get them together to talk about, how do we better our community? What are tangible ways that, we can be in service to people who live in our city? We always love to say we love our city. That could kind of tick both boxes. There's lots of different ways.
Yeah.
But I think what is that anything I hope people get out of this video is just the willingness, I think, that Muslims have in particular. Too often, I think Christians in particular say, is this event going to look the way it needs to look perfectly? Is it going to go perfectly? Is it going to come off perfectly? And the truth is, there is a lot of good work you can do to prepare talking to the Christians here, your ministry to engage in this kind of work in ways that feel faithful to your beliefs, that may or may not, speak in ways that we're speaking. And I think there's a lot of flexibility to walk into a room with Muslims and say, I do or do not believe we have the same God. I do or do not believe that we're brothers or sisters in faith. I do or do not believe that we have the same motivations for serving, or the place of works and salvation. There's tons of flexibility there. And I've yet to meet a Muslim who I can now look in the eye and say, this is exactly what I think, and that's not going to change over the next 2.5 hours. And them say, like, well, I mean, typically that's the Christians in the room who are like, well, right? Like there's almost a sense in which, if I can't influence that person over the next 20 minutes, what's the point? But I think the point is to be in the same room. I think there's so much about just being in the same room, or if it's just you one-on-one with the president of MSA in a coffee shop, that proximity means so much in a society where people are so fragmented. And just take the chance, take the risk, take the opportunity, even if it's something small, you and two of your leaders and, the president and the outreach coordinator of MSA, whoever the case may be, just give it a shot. I promise you. And I know Khalid agrees. I promise you it'll be worth your while. It is truly some of the best friendships you might make in college are with Muslims who live on your floor or live in the apartment across the street. I mean, if you really, really don't know what to do, just order some food and enjoy it together. If you're going to do anything, get some wine and some halal, chicken or, shawarma or wherever the case may be, and see where it goes. But thank you, Khalid, for all of your generosity, everything you've done and said. I think you've been a massive help to everyone listening. And if people want to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you? Do you have a social media platform or profile where people can connect with you if they have additional thoughts or questions or just want to be your friend?
Well, yeah, I'm mainly active on Instagram. I can give you, my username, and you could.
I'll put it in the video notes. Yeah.
Sounds good. Perfect.